breaking news. The CDC has been inventing COVID numbers and using fuzzy math to promote the deep state agenda and support the push for vaccines. Moo, cows. You're just grazing in the pasture, waiting for the slaughterhouse. Not only are the numbers cooked, but this virus, this coronavirus, was cooked in a lab just like most flu viruses since 1918. The biotech industry is heavily dependent on the release of covert bioweapons, i.e. the flu, for vaccine sales. It's why the flu seasons keep getting worse. Humanity never knew seasonal flu until the 1900s. The ancients saw perhaps 1 or 2 flu-like pandemics every decade or so. Now we regularly see 2 or more flu-like pandemics a year. Why? Because the healthcare industry needs you to get sick, or else they're out of a job and out of billions and trillions of dollars. This is why they're poisoning the food, the air, the water. It's why they're irradiating you like bugs. They want to cause a myriad of mystery diseases and then have you search for a cure. And there's only one place you can get that cure. That's the doctor. That's big pharma, bitches. And that's what's going on with this plandemic. This is nothing new. This is routine business for these labs that are dispersed everywhere. They're out there to infect you, ladies and gentlemen. This is the source of the release for the seasonal flu every year. And this is something that everybody should be concerned about because it's part of the eugenics program. But now they're getting more dystopian, more Orwellian. They want to shut you down. They want to imprison you in your homes. They want to force you to wear a muzzle, a mask, a choke to cause more disease. But we know that they've been mixing in flu, pneumonia deaths, and other deaths with the COVID statistics. And the numbers aren't as bad as they say, at least not in our countries. Why? Because they released a different version of the coronavirus before the China virus blew in to give us what's known as cross immunity. But they may release another mutant strain of this virus at any time and say it's a new wave, it's a mutant, and you know that's coming. The way this thing is mutating in the gene bank and the like, nextstrain.org. I mean, this thing could become a mutant version of itself in no time at all. Brought to you by the BSL Labs, the New World Order, the Deep State, the works. Now, we know that this thing came out of a lab, and we know that they wanted everybody to get infected so that they could force vaccinate you. And they're going to keep you in, under house arrest until you can prove that you've received your vaccine, that you've paid these monsters for your release. That's basically the terms and conditions of your bail, ladies and gentlemen. And they're setting up contact snitching programs, everywhere so that they can turn you in and turn you into a criminal for resisting their dictatorship. And right now, everybody's facing the same thing. We're looking at massive dictatorships. We're looking at draconian crackdowns. We're looking at censorship, book burning. It's starting to feel like the 1930s all over again. And if you follow the Nazi gold, ladies and gentlemen, you'll know that history is repeating itself. This is another 9/11. The planes are 20 miles out. The planes are 10 miles out. Do the orders still stand? Of course the orders still stand. They want everybody infected, everybody vaccinated, everybody chipped, ladies and gentlemen. And, if you can't escape your house, then all of a sudden you become an internet-aholic, nonstop online, being force-fed the propaganda, being force-fed the misinformation. Did you see that guy just get blown out of the windows? A plane did that, ladies and gentlemen. But here's the big breaking news.
That was fooling around with these viruses. Prohibited. Despite that, Dr. Fauci gave $3.7 million to the Wuhan laboratory. We paid for it. We paid for the damn virus that's killing it.
No doubt we have the receipt of this lab-borne virus. Coronavirus gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab, just blocks away from where this thing was first spotted. And obviously we didn't get the same strain that the Chinese did. I mean, in China, people were dropping dead, but they've also got 1.5 billion people out there, so they probably, you know, don't mind losing 50 million people, to say the least, ladies and gentlemen. And so obviously we've got this network of, you know, governments and bioweapons working together to infect the world with this virus. This is a bioterror attack. Had bin Laden done it, you know, we would be droning these people
that was fooling around with these viruses. Prohibited. Despite that, Dr. Fauci gave $3.7 million to the Wuhan laboratory.
Maybe we need the military to drone Bill Gates and Fauci. What do people think about that? Let us know in the comments, ladies and gentlemen.
The side effects for the Moderna vaccine sound concerning. We looked. After the second dose, at least 80% of participants experienced a systemic side effect. Are these vaccines safe?
Well, the things are, Moderna did have to go with a fairly high dose. And so, to get the antibodies, it's just, super painful. But yes, we need to make sure there's not severe side effects.
So there's no liability on these vaccines. You can't sue these people if it's full of cyanide or some other toxin. They're completely free from prosecution. They're mandating this vaccine that, is going to be rushed through the labs. Nobody has any idea what it is, but we know that it causes systemic problems, to say the least, painful side effects and the like. And it doesn't look like it's going to cure a whole lot of people. Did Fauci engineer this virus? That episode was pulled from America this week. It was supposed to air in local markets. Any information on this pandemic and the intent to infect you, abuse you, rape you, euthanize you is not allowed in the media or on the socialist media platforms. And obviously these people are in it together like a bunch of Charlie Manson groupies. And they can take down, independent investigations into the origins of this pandemic. But, most people are pretty settled on the evidence. We have the receipt. We know who benefits. And they just let this virus in like a Trojan horse. And, if this was like a one-off deal, like this was the first, ever potential eugenics program spotted on the radar, maybe you could say, maybe it was, accidental. But you see them putting their death towers everywhere in your neighborhood. And, these things cause cancer. These things suppress your immune system, disturb your sleep, have adverse effects on your health. And that's what it's all about, making you sick. And then you go into the doctor's office. Oh, you got this headache, huh? Well, let's run some MRIs. Let's do some testing. And we'll give you all these meds and hopefully you feel better. But they never find the cause. They just try to give you some kind of pill, some kind of magic pill. They're like drug dealers now. And that's if you're lucky. You look at all of the medical malpractice suits every year. And we know that a lot of these COVID deaths due to ventilator were basically murders. This is according to the medical professionals working, in some of these hospitals. But you're getting dosed everywhere. You're getting sprayed like bugs everywhere. And they're turning our cities into like one giant concentration camp. And there's no escape. Everybody wants to flee to the country. Where are you going to go? All of these markets are going to fill up quickly. The prices are going to go sky high.
The side effects for the Moderna vaccine sound concerning. We looked.
Fire the video guy. Fire the video guy. And of course, they don't want you to have the cheap remedy. They want you to buy the expensive stuff. So hydroxychloroquine proven safe and effective in numerous studies, as long as you're not already on, the Kevorkian ventilator. But if they get you before the Kevorkian ventilator, you have a high probability of survival with the hydroxychloroquine. And so, you know, that stuff has been around for years. It's cheap. It's easy. But they don't want that. They're like, no, no. I mean, and we saw them fake the science. You know, companies that didn't even exist submitted data to all sorts of labs, and they published papers. And when the audit came, then all of a sudden, like, they retracted the journal entry, and you know, the company disappeared. But you know, there are other studies, you know, questionable studies like that out there. The science is politicized, and it's easier to buy, you know, a doctor off than it is a politician these days, ladies and gentlemen. And so, you know, you give them $100,000, they'll tell you, you know, that it's as safe as cigarettes, it's as safe as, you know, asbestos or lead or, you know, any of the other toxins that were readily sold to, you know, sheeple consumers out there. And of course, again, you know, we've got the receipt to this virus. We know that they let this in. We know that they gave everybody the wrong advice in terms of protection. You know, this was an airborne disease, and they were telling people, just wash your hands, breathe it in.
This is their new hoax. We have it totally under control. It's one person.
Hoax or not, real virus or not, deadly or not, is besides the point at this stage. You know, they've released a virus and infected people. That is, you know, a bioweapon attack. It defies all rules of engagement. It's a war crime. And, you know, these people could be executed for what they've done, quite literally. And so, you know, that, you know, the mainstream media, the Bill Gates, the Faucis, they all have a vested interest in telling you, oh, well, you know, this thing came out of the jungle. You know, had this come out of the jungle, you know, we would have seen this show up in a village somewhere like Ebola. But instead, you know, it's like 2 blocks away from the lab, and people were like, nah, man, I mean, that, you know, that thing is just jumped out of a bat. So, in any case, lots of questions about the testing, the effectiveness of the testing, and the like. You know, how real are those numbers? How accurate are those numbers? And given that they haven't tested everybody in the country, there's no way to tell if the numbers are actually going up or down. You know, the numbers in terms of testing are inconsistent. So some days they're testing, you know, 100,000 people, other days they're testing 10,000 people. But, you know, right now they've only tested, you know, 25%, 20% of the people that are out there with tests that are inaccurate. So we really have no idea what, you know, people have been infected with. We have no idea how many people have been infected with this virus. What we do know is that it's a war crime, and they've done so for political and financial gain, ladies and gentlemen. So these people are, you know, monsters infecting you with bioweapons. And the thing is that it's only going to get worse. You might say to yourself, well, it's not so bad this time. But they still have these labs, and they still have this, you know, industry set up where they can make a ton of money infecting you with their viruses. It's not going to go away. It's like the computer viruses. And, you know, Microsoft and many other, you know, companies made their money, you know, writing up viruses and then selling you an antivirus for it. And, you know, that's how they fuel their industry. And they're doing the same thing in human biology. And it's interesting because, you know,
that was fooling around with these viruses. Prohibited.
You know, these viruses that affect humans are very much like a computer virus. You know, it's got a code, it's got a computer code, and it's like nanomachines. And some people are out there like, oh, there is no such thing as a virus. You know, if there is no such thing as a virus, then why would they have all of these weapons labs? And so you might as well say there's no such thing as cancer, there's no such thing as AIDS, there's no such thing as carbon monoxide, for example. So you can argue that there's no such thing. Nobody is independently tested, you know, for a virus or for a vaccine themselves. But the science has, been around for well over 100 years. And there really isn't a credible scientist out there that says that viruses don't exist. Some do. There are some that want to debate, what is the nature of the particle infecting people? Is it a viron? Is it, some other kind of thing? Look, the science is pretty sound when it comes to viruses out there. And there's a reason why they have all of these labs. And now they're making money infecting people. And you're just like cows grazing in the pasture, waiting for the slaughterhouse, waiting for the next one. And, they can do this, forever, like, testing monkeys. They give them a banana or they give them a peanut or something, and then the monkey will do whatever, you want it to do. That's cruel and unusual. But look, I mean, it's the same thing that's happening to humans right now. They just got to dangle carrots and sticks at you, and you'll be jumping through the hoops and the ladders. But what you don't realize is that they're baby stepping you towards their final solution, which is transhumanism. It's the assimilation of mankind, believe it or not. And they want to replace humanity with like the Borg, like some kind of cybernetic civilization. And there's really no telling, how bad the situation is going to get. But we know that RoboCops are coming. We know that Terminators are coming. We know that, people are going to be replaced by robots at the workforce. We know that they want to brain chip everybody and basically plug them into the matrix. So you can assume the worst. And the backbone of all of this will be, the EMF grid or the Death Tower grid. And looks like the video guy's on vacation. But, if we can take down these Death Towers, if we can stop the rollout of these Death Towers everywhere, we're stopping the rollout of RoboCops, Terminators, driverless cars, basically the future. And it's all dependent on this communications backbone. But it's also, irradiating you. And there is no safe radiation exposure. We recommend lowering your dose, lowering your exposure, and getting a meter and counting, the rads, if you will, like calories, and try to, eliminate excessive exposure. And you'd be surprised, what you're getting dosed with. Now here we're at the GQ Electronics Lab comparing the tri-field meter to the EMF 390. And as you can see at the 1 gigahertz spectrum, it's pretty much spot on. But as we increase the power, if you will, we see that the other meters really don't perform as well as the EMF 390. So this is really, a bombshell meter for 129 bucks. It blows away the competition, which is usually at $300 or $400, and everybody needs to know what they're getting exposed with, at work, at school, at the grocery store, because it's insane. You're now seeing like 2 or 3 Death Towers, at your grocery store parking lot surrounding you. And, they've turned the parking lot into basically, a raid type of, trap, and you're the insect. And so you may want to understand, what you're getting dosed with, what these what these EMF weapons are doing in your neighborhood. Everybody that's gotten one, it's changed their lives, ladies and gentlemen. And, people ask, what can you do? There's no escape. You can, take alternate routes, choose a different parking spot. You can, apply shielding, especially if you're in an apartment, you're getting dosed with like the neighbor's router and the like. You can find their router. You can put up a little foil and reflect it back at them. So, there's all sorts of things to do. We've got videos of, fox hunting, Death Towers, the hidden Death Towers, with the EMF 390. Excellent, excellent tool to have in your toolkit. And of course, we've mentioned this before, but just before the outbreak in Wuhan, they turned on the 5G. And we're seeing, areas with, hardcore 5G networks like Miami, the worst affected. You look at Florida, it's an excellent case study, because you've got cities like Tampa that's got more people but less 5G, and they've got less cases. You know, and Tampa has like 4 times as many people as Miami. But here on this map, you can see the 5G in purple. And, you know, Orlando and Tampa, you know, they've got just a little bit compared to Miami. And so this, you know, may very well be a very important cofactor in terms of, you know, disease. And not just COVID, but, you know, other flus, other bacteria, other toxins, cancer, and the like. So you really want to reduce your exposure and think of shielding options. Think of, you know, what you can do to protect yourselves from this tyranny. You know, and they're all linked to Epstein and the like. And look, you know, the election is just, you know, a few days away. Still no debate, still no nothing. Seems so irregular. And, you know, no matter who you choose, you're screwed. You're super screwed. And, you know, it'll be eventful to see what happens. Here's some more interesting white papers. 5G technology and induction of coronavirus in skin cells, PubMed. Withdrawn and retracted, of course. But, you know, it's like everything else. It's getting banned. But what's not getting banned are these death towers. I mean, they are violating you without your consent. And your children, too. I mean, your children can't consent to this penetration, to this violation, to this radiation. And, you know, this is going to have a severe impact on their health, on their development, and the like. And, you know, people should, you know, get active on this front, you know, protest, hand out flyers, show other people what they're getting dosed with. And nothing will motivate you like a meter. When you see, like, now, especially in the cities, it's like worse than standing in front of a microwave oven. You have to question the logic of these death towers. Just like everything else that's going on. You know, why are they adding fluoride in the water? You know, if we could you know, if we had a meter for that, we'd probably sell you that too. But look, you know, why are they putting fluoride in the water? Can you measure it? You have no idea what's in the water. You know, why are they, you know, burning all sorts of stuff, dumping stuff into the air, spraying your food with all sorts of neurotoxins, i.e. pesticides? You can't measure the residues on the food that you eat, the tomato sauce, the pizzas, the works. If there was a meter for that, we'd sell you that too. But look, you know, you can measure the radiation from these death towers, and it's a known, you know, cofactor for all sorts of things. And so you want to reduce your exposure, ladies and gentlemen. You know, those numbers are real. As far as, you know, what the CDC is putting out, what the television is putting out, those numbers are not so real. And it would seem that this strain, the strain that we got, is more mild than expected. That doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way. These people are sitting on all sorts of versions of coronavirus. According to the white papers, they've got stuff that's, you know, much worse than this. And letting their system continue means that, you know, they can release another one at any time. Next winter, perhaps. You know, people are starting to question the official story. Well, let's give them a real one. You know, and Bill Gates was talking about the second, you know, wave, the second surge, if you will. And so they'll deliver, ladies and gentlemen. They'll deliver another virus if we let these people escape. So, you know, we should be rating, you know, the Bill Gates compound, the Fauci compound. And we now know that Fauci has got patents for vaccines related to COVID. And you know that, you know, Bill Gates is heavily invested in all sorts of things related to COVID. So these, you know, these people have a clear motive. They're benefactors from this outbreak. And there, you know, there's probably many more. So we need to interrogate them and find out what they know. But if there was any justice, you know, they would be hunting down, you know, these killers, these mass killers, before, you know, it's too late, before there's another release. And they have every incentive to continue. And to think that, you know, the entire system is on board, it just tells you that, you know, the solution is being left to the people. Either you're going to go out quietly into the night, or you're going to fight back and push back. And, you know, there's a lot you can learn from the Antifa tactics. There's a lot you can learn about the urban warfare that's going on in Seattle and Portland right now. You better pay attention, because the goon squads are coming. They have no intention of stopping. And they're going to go all the way. Full state, full deep state penetration is coming your way. And, you know, they're going to turn it into, you know, a hardcore Orwellian state, to say the least. How do you get the EMF 390? You can check out the Damazon page on the EMF 390 from GQ Electronics. 97% approval rating. Sells for $148. Or you can come to our website, stfnreport.com. We sell it for $129 directly from the manufacturer. This is an affiliate price, but you order it directly from them. We just show you all of the stuff that you need to know about this meter, other meters, and the like. And when you click on the link, it brings you directly to GQ Electronics, and you can order it for $20 less than Damazon. So don't give Damazon and Bezos the commission. Ladies and gentlemen, support our broadcast. We reach millions and millions and millions of people. We prime the pump when it comes to the conversation. People check out STF News to understand what's going on, and then they run with it. And so, we're very important in the food chain, if you will. So please support our broadcast. We're not getting the big government grants. We're not getting the corporate funding. We're 100% listener supported. And, the video guy loves beer. And right now we just can't afford, to give him the beer that he desires. So, get a meter, support our broadcast, and if you really want to help out, we got a Patreon page, patreon.com/STF News. And, we'd like to get something, like band.video going 24/7 streaming and the like. But, as soon as you go off platform, off these socialist media platforms, it's big bucks, and still they don't want your content. So, it is possible, but, we don't have the budget for that right now. And if you really want us to continue our research and our endeavors, then please support our broadcast. You can find all the details on the EMF 390 on our website, stfnreport.com, or our Facebook page, STFN Reloaded, run by our wonderful administrator, Bella Marie. Big shout out to everybody out there in the audience. Until the next time, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.